Hey, this is Skippen. It's September 24th, which means that the iPhone and iPad mini were just released, and I'm on my way to pick up the iPad mini 6 that I reserved. So I just picked up my Mini 6. I went with the 256 Space Gray model. Of course, we also have 64 gigs available, but I feel like between the OS, several apps, and if you have larger file sizes with your drawings or other projects, it might not be enough for you. I feel a little bit disappointed that Apple didn't offer something in between, like a 128 gig option, or even more than 256. It would have been nice to see that. Anyways, I'm gonna take this home and get started testing it. So now I'm back home and I've had the chance to use the Mini 6 for both productivity, and I drew some on a live stream. And one thing to note, Clip Studio Paint, the main software I use for drawing, is having some issues on the recently released iPads, including the Mini 6. When trying to use menus, for example, when you go to save your project, the app freezes up and it becomes unresponsive. The developers have acknowledged this, and I'm sure in the near future we'll get a fix for this. It also seems like Procreate on the Mini 6 doesn't show much if any improvement to the number of available layers compared to the Mini 5. Oftentimes with new releases, we have to wait for apps to be updated to really take full advantage of the hardware. I'm really glad I was able to pick up the Mini on day one, especially because they're sold out throughout Japan, but often it's very difficult to judge a product within the first few days after release because of issues like this with software. And it's not just apps, accessories, especially third-party ones, aren't really available until sometime after release. I really wanted to use Apple's Smart Folio while testing the Mini, but unfortunately it's not available anywhere in Japan at the moment. I'm sure that we'll see an improvement in apps as well as more accessories coming out for the Mini 6 in the coming days, and that's when I'll be doing my proper review. But because I couldn't get the accessories that I wanted to use for this video, as well as some of my software not working properly at the moment, I thought instead of doing a first 24 hours type of video, I thought it would be best to talk about whether it's worth upgrading from the Mini 5 to the Mini 6, and if you don't have a Mini at all, which one would be worth purchasing, because now the Mini 5 might go on sale. The Mini 6 is smaller than the Mini 5 while offering a larger screen, which sounds like a huge win on paper for the Mini 6, but when you actually line them up side by side, the difference isn't that pronounced. And when actually drawing on the Mini 6, I didn't feel it was a drastic change in screen real estate compared to the Mini 5. But a more noticeable change can be found with the bezels. The Mini 6 finally brings a much needed new look in line with Apple's other high-end iPad models. This design ditches the home button, and we get a constant width of bezel throughout the device. The Mini 5 actually ends up with a smaller bezel on the top and bottom in a horizontal orientation, but we get a big bezel on both sides with the camera and the home button. And to be honest, I never really minded the bezels on the Mini 5. I often draw in a horizontal orientation, and your palms end up covering them. Now with the Mini 6, your palm will end up covering some of the screen when drawing like this, but I think that extra screen real estate will come in handy when you're drawing in a vertical orientation. Other than that, the Apple Pencil 2 magnetically attaching to the Mini 6 is nice for transporting it, and the touch-sensitive shortcut button could really come in handy for sketching on public transportation. But I found the actual drawing experience on the Mini 5 and 6 to be very similar. I've used the Apple Pencil both generations on a variety of different iPads, and I never really found one to be more responsive or accurate than the other. The move to the second generation Apple Pencil is definitely more comfortable and convenient, but it's not really a game-changing feature in my mind. What actually is a game changer is that USB-C port. USB Type-C is such an improvement over Lightning with some benefits that I think are very easy to see. Beyond more connectivity options, USB-C allows you to easily plug in a hard drive or USB stick and transfer backup files on the Mini 6. Trying to do things like that on the Mini 5 was always a pain and made professional workflows a lot more difficult. The Mini 5 was and still is a very capable device that I loved using every day for 2 years. The little annoyances or bigger bezels or Lightning port was overshadowed by the ability to work the way I always work, anywhere without restrictions. Now the Mini 6 has pretty much done away with all those little annoyances that I had, and it's thrown in a few nice bonuses here and there. So as a Mini 5 owner, is it worth the upgrade? I'd say if you're a professional artist or creator, then this update could be worth it for you. USB-C might be the biggest upgrade that finally allows you to plug in an external device while on the go and just have it work without headaches. USB-C would also allow you to easily and elegantly, say, hand off files to a client if you meet them in person, but I know that most enthusiasts and even some professionals don't have that kind of workflow, in which case the Mini 5 is perfectly suitable for doing some great drawing work. You might have to jump through some hoops to transfer a file on the Mini 5, and you might look a little bit ridiculous with that Apple Pencil hanging off the bottom of it, but the way you look when drawing isn't as important as actually having a good drawing experience. Both of these devices offer an excellent drawing experience. If you can't take advantage of the new features of the Mini 6, or if you've been satisfied with your current experience on the Mini 5, I don't think that you need an upgrade. If you don't currently have a Mini, I think that either of these devices should serve you just fine if you're looking for a mobile drawing experience. And if you have a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, I feel like the Mini form factor has always been a nice complement to that. Now the Mini 6 is even more of a complementary device because it's so easy sharing a single second generation Apple Pencil across both devices. And if you're someone that has one of the middle-sized iPads, I feel like the mini doesn't make that much of a difference. Your current iPad is probably still very powerful and portable, so having two very similar devices might not be the best thing for you. But if you're someone that finds yourself constantly on the go and you want to bring the smallest possible bag, or maybe no bag at all, the mini could make a difference there. One last thing that I wanted to mention, both for the mini 5 and 6, the storage options were limited to a 64 and 256 gig option. As a professional, it would have been nice to see something beyond 256 gigs, and at this point, 64 gigs feels like a malicious way to force a lot of consumers to purchase a more expensive 256 gig option. Apple always charges a lot of money, especially for upgrades when it comes to storage, and it's something that can't be upgraded by the user, so I think that 128 should have been the bare minimum here, with extra options for those that needed it. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the Mini 6 after using it for a few days. I really like the device and I'm going to continue to test it so I can put out a proper review whenever I get the chance. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm Skipen, and thank you so much for watching.